What up, misfits? Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Ferlini. I'm going to be doing daily content until the end of 2021, so consider subscribing so you don't miss out on my next video. Today I'm going to be talking about something more personal. I'm going to be talking about why I love films and what they do for me in general. And so why do I love films so much? What has inspired me to watch so many movies? If you guys know me on a personal level, you guys would know that I am a huge movie fanatic. I have been to the movies more than 300 times. I'm one of those people who had the AMC pass. I would probably go twice a week, to be quite frank, and I would see everything that was out there. But what stemmed this? What made me want to go to the movies that many times, and why was it such a huge impact on my life? It's something that I've always thought about, and I kind of always wondered why films were such a huge impact on my life. And then when I started thinking about it before I started filming this video, I started thinking, why has films been such a huge impact? What have they done for me? And I guess we're gonna have to start all the way at the beginning so you guys can get a better idea. So the first film that I ever saw was Selena.
What are you doing here? I'm looking up at the moon, and I'm dreaming about, well, let's just say you wouldn't imagine what my dreams are like. And when I saw those people applauding, I mean, come on, Susie, what did you feel? I mean, what did you think? It was so cool.
I don't remember how old I was. I was probably really young. I remember going to the movies with my mom and going to watch this film. And it was the first movie I ever saw in my whole life at the movie theaters. I'll never forget it. I'm from Queens, so I went to the Queens movie theater at the time. There was like a rinky-dink movie theater. It's so rinky-dink that they fucking closed it after a few years later. And I remember us going to see a Harry Potter event there, and it was freaking freezing in there because the heat was turned off. That's how broke ass this movie theater was. But it wasn't even because of the ambience. It was just the movie itself. Watching the movie itself was amazing. It talked about the struggle of this young Latina girl trying to aspire her dreams. And I'm pretty sure you guys know the story about Selena. And she basically has this hunger and this drive to be a singer. And at the end, you get to see her throughout her whole journey. And at the end, her biggest fan ends up being her demise. And I'm sorry if I ruined the movie, but it's been out since like the 90s. So if you haven't seen it by now or heard her stories, my apologies, you still check it out. There's gonna be a lot of spoilers. This is a YouTube video, so just in case if you are looking to see these videos, I apologize, but I'm pretty much going to primarily be talking about old films so that doesn't happen, so I don't spoil any movies for you guys. Now, the second movie that I ever saw at the movies, let's put this a little higher. The second movie I ever saw at the movies was Titanic. And that's where I first saw a rich woman have every single thing that she wanted, and she somehow fell in love with this man who had nothing. She fell in love with his drive, his spirit, his grit. She fell in love with somebody who was willing to risk it all for her. Like, there's that scene, that famous scene where she's about to jump off the boat.
Don't do it.
Stay back!
Over the rail and get me off the hook here.
You're crazy!
That's what everybody says, but with all due respect, miss, I'm not the one hanging off the back of the ship here.
And Jack's like, hey, don't jump off the boat because if you jump, I jump. And he starts telling her how cold it was, and if she doesn't do it, she hasn't done the jump by then, that she's not gonna jump. So then he puts out his hand and he reaches for her, and you guys know the rest of the part. But yeah, he saves this woman who he knows nothing about. And the craziest thing about this whole thing is that she ends up falling in love with him, and he changes her life. He makes a huge impact on her life. And if someone could have all this money and not be happy, that movie taught me that happiness doesn't come from money. It comes from life experiences, memories, and life is too short. And no matter what things you have in your life, it's never gonna measure up to like what your standards are, comparing to living your life and fulfilling your true deepest, darkest goals, and just being yourself and just living your life to the fullest. So that's where I learned that lesson. I also learned in that movie that don't go on boats if you don't know how to swim. And for anybody else who saw that movie, it was probably traumatizing. I still can't believe that when I went to go see that movie, my sister, I believe I was like 9 years old, she fell asleep during the part where the Titanic was sinking. I don't know how that happens, but if you can fall asleep through that, you can fall asleep through anything. The third movie I ever saw was Stuart Little. Stuart Little is about a mouse that basically is different. He stands out. He lives in an orphanage, and these two parents come into the orphanage and they try to adopt a child. This movie taught me that you can be different in this world and you can stand out, and people can still love you and accept you for no matter who you are. And he creates an impact on them by just showing them like, hey, I'm in this situation right now, but it's gonna get better. And he shows that when he's in the orphanage and they go in to try to adopt him, and they're like, hey, how do you know so much about these kids? And he's like, it's been like this because I've been here for so long. But nothing phases him. Like, he still has that high spirit and he still has that love and joy of just being there and getting to know the kids, and he has this appreciation for life. And I got that from that movie at such a young age.
It's the same way every time. First, you won't know what to do, you'll be a little bit scared. Then you'll meet one of them. You'll talk to them. Somehow, you just know.
Quite certain you're prepared to handle his uniqueness?
And I was like, wow, this, like, if he can be happy in his circumstances, I can be happy in whatever as well. And let's be realistic, no one loves a great story ending, like a happy ending, more than Americans. Americans love happy endings. Including myself. I love seeing the person who's in the film, you know, reach their goal and succeed. You succeeded and you made that victory with them. Like, you seen them go through everything in hell. And it's through that journey that you find yourself and you truly are that inspiration. And that's something that really gives us a human impact on everything we do. Since we're small, we're taught to always read fairy tales and read these stories of like once upon a time, and they always almost end with a happy ending. But then when you watch movies, you get to see the truth. Like, sometimes things don't work out your way, sometimes they don't, and that's okay. So you learn to deal with rejection, and I feel like I got that from a lot of movies, that even though sometimes things might not go with your way and you get this rejection, you have to keep on going, you have to keep on striving. The fourth movie I ever saw was Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, and I'll never forget that scene where he's like climbing on and he's like holding and he does that crazy jump. And he gets to the top of the mountain and he achieves his goal, which was climbing up the mountain. And you feel like you climbed that mountain because he achieved his goal. And even though you didn't do anything and you're just sitting on your ass just watching him, you felt like you were climbing the mountain, like your palms start sweating. And that's because you get so immersed in the movies that you feel like you're doing it as well. And that's something that I always loved about film. You could be watching a film for about an hour or 2 hours and you get so immersed and so fall in love for who that character is. You want them to succeed, you feel their happiness, their sadness, and you just want to continue on with the journey. And that's why sometimes when you binge watch a show, like, you get so depressed, like, oh, what do I do now? Like, I can't watch anything because I'm so attached to this character and I want to see what happens to them next. And that's something that I always loved in film. Like, how can people create something that you get, like, the audience gets so attached to, and that message and that story, and how can I do storytelling and use it in my daily life? That's mostly why I also started to do a YouTube channel. I love the excitement and the joy that you get from watching a movie. I love how even if the world is ending in that film, you feel like the world is ending for you as well. And the way that it plays on your people's emotions, and just you get to see everything so much because it can take you from the beginning, middle, and end, and you can see everything in a timeline. In life, you can't really connect the dots until you're at the end of your story, which kind of like, it's great because you get to enjoy the journey, but then you don't really get to see other people's journeys. So Mr. Rogers actually had a quote in his pocket that he actually had in his pocket every single filming set. I'll read you the quote right here. "We as humans love storytelling. Frankly, there isn't anyone you couldn't love once you heard their story." Which is so true. You can't hate someone after they've told you their story, because you can see their falls, their failures, their greatnesses. Everyone has an amazing story, and I would love to hear you guys' stories if you guys want to leave them in the comments below. But everyone has their own story, everybody has their own journey, and that's what makes us unique in each and every individual. And how I started loving film so much is because I went such an early age and I was going through so much stuff, and at the same time, like, I found like movies and everything that I was watching as an outlet to escape and hear other people's stories, and I don't have to worry about my own. So that's why I love film so much. Leave some recommendations in the comments below. I'm gonna try to answer all the comments that I get. I always leave likes on the ones that I read, and I'll respond to as many as I can. I'll let you know how many of the movies I've seen. So if I have seen it and you recommend something I have seen, I'll comment back. If I haven't, I'll try to put it down on my list so I can keep in mind what movies I should watch. But don't be upset if I've seen half of the movies you guys are putting up on there, because I've seen a lot of movies. Trust me. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and just seeing my story of why I love filmmaking and why I love making videos and what I'm doing YouTube for. And thank you guys for just spending time with me. Bye, Misfits. Peace.